Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome once again to the Steelers Hangover. We've been talking about it all along. There's different kinds of hangovers. There's the woohoo kind of hangover. The hangover that you feel so good, you're partying because you're celebrating something. And then there's the face down in a ditch hangover where you feel like complete crud. And that's kind of the first time this year that we are experiencing that hangover as the Pittsburgh Steelers lose their first game of the 2020 season. They do not go to 12-0. They go to 11-0. They lose to the Washington football team coming in at 4-7. It's the hangover, my friends, and we are now finally lamenting a loss, and it does not feel good. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Friends, thanks for joining me. Once again, I'm here on The Hangover with, with my partner in crime and my partner in crying, Tony Defeo.
How you doing, Bryan? Good to see you. Good to be with you on this fine Tuesday.
Yes, we are back, my friends, for another Tuesday edition, another weird edition. And, then once again, we will probably get back to normal next week. It's going to be a different kind of hangover because it's going to be one of those tired hangovers because it's a late night game. Mm-hmm. Those Sunday night games wear me the heck out. But you know what? I'm just glad to be celebrating my Pittsburgh Steelers win or lose. Like Mike Tomlin said after the game, and he said again today, one thing that they're looking forward to now is, laughing at adversity. That's and so really what we're hoping now is that they can find a way to come back on this one. But Tony, what were your knee-jerk reactions from this game?
Just that it's clear that they've been in a funk for a while, and it was easier to ignore when they kept winning. But now that they've lost their first game, I mean, I'm not ready to abandon the ship or anything, but they definitely need to find a way to right the ship and get out of this funk in time for the playoffs.
Yeah, so here's the difference between last week and this week, and you said something perfect. They've been in this funk. They have not been playing good football on offense, and the entire time we've been waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it has definitely dropped. And you know what? I really feel like they had an opportunity to win this game, hence the title. The Steelers waste time and then run out of time against the Washington football team. And if you read in between the lines, what that title means is there was not a sense of urgency in this game. And that's the way I feel. It's almost like they took it for granted. I'm not saying they did, but my thought after Mike Tomlin came out and used the us sucking comment, after Ben spoke up, after Juju spoke up, that the drops would go away and there would be more focus. There was more focus on a on a post-touchdown celebration, which was definitely coordinated. And I mean, it was synchronized. It was choreographed. There was, and look, I have no problem with post-touchdown celebrations, but what I'm saying is it just feels like there wasn't an urgency in this game to play the Washington football team. I get that they were definitely out of sync. The whole COVID thing, I mean, you can make excuses for that, and it's a valid excuse here and there, but to a point. Tony, do you think that they took this game seriously?
It certainly felt like they were complacent in the second half. There didn't seem to, like you said, sense of urgency. That's the right term, the right phrase, because that's how it felt in the second half. They did barely anything on offense in the second half, and I think their defense came out kind of complacent in the beginning of the second half. So yeah, I think they got up 14-0, and I think they thought like a lot of Steeler Nation that all right, this is a 4-7 team, and we can just coast from here and go to 12-0. And obviously the Washington's I guess a better team, and at least they're playing better than their record indicates right now.
Yeah, definitely. And Dave Shipley says if you're going to lose, good one to do it. The reason being is they are still the number one seed in the AFC.
Right.
And if everybody's trying to figure out that formula, because after head-to-head, which there's not a head-to-head game with Kansas City, after the head-to-head, you go ahead and look at conference record. And right now, Pittsburgh's loss was against an NFC team, and the Chiefs lost to the Raiders. So they have one loss in the conference, and Pittsburgh is still perfect in the conference. So right now they're the number 1 seed. However, there's so many things to look at as what went wrong in this game and what could go wrong in the future. And going back to everybody waiting for the other shoe to drop, people were worried about the fact that there were a lot of big what ifs. What if this happens? What if this happens? And I think it all piled up. Everything piled up on this team. Between, you throw in the uncertainty with the COVID situation, with the Ravens having that game moved once, twice, 3 times a lady. And when that keeps on happening, you throw in the fact that you've got guys on the COVID list yourself. You've got the Bud Dupree injury. You have a running game that's not working. You have a team that's not stopping the run well. So everybody's worried about all these things finally coming home to roost. They came home to roost. But the big question now is, how do the Steelers respond? And they won games despite all those things happening.
Right.
Now, can they just stack it back up and go ahead and beat Buffalo, Tony?
Well, they can't keep doing the same thing they've been doing. I think Washington made it clear yesterday that they got some info from the Ravens, and the Ravens probably got some info from other teams on how to beat this short passing game and how to attack this offense. So they need to, sports is all about adjusting to what people do to you. And it's clear that the NFL has adjusted to what the Steelers have been doing. And now it's up to the Steelers to adjust, to readjust, if that's the right word, and figure out a way to attack these defenses and figure out a way to attack what they've been doing to them. So they can't keep doing the same thing. They have to change some things up, because Buffalo's a very tough team, and that's going to be a strong test. And we're going to see just how good they are come Sunday night.
If you are checking us out on Facebook for the first time, we do have something on the other end, on the YouTube end, that is called the Super Chat, and some people put money in to get their question to the top of the queue. But we have you won't be able to see Facebook. You will not be able to see the YouTube comments. YouTube, you won't be able to see the Facebook comments, but we get to see all of them. So we welcome everybody in. And remember, if this is the first time you're catching The Hangover, it's a different kind of show. It's Tony and I like to think outside the bun, shall you say, and kind of take a different approach to everything. And that's what we're going to do in this game. And remember, all of our shows on the BTSC family of podcasts, anywhere that you stream a podcast, you could find BTSC. Just type in BTSC Radio. There you go. You will find all of our shows. We have pretty much 3 shows a day, every single day of the week, sometimes even more, with different things popping up. So check us out. Andrew Syback, and he brings this up. And one more comment to the first-time listeners, the first-time viewers, is what's really important to us on this show is to give you a voice. So feel free to get those comments in as well. We are one big BTSC family. Doesn't matter where we come from. It's we are all in it together. We are all lamenting this loss, and it sucks right now. But that's the good thing about The Hangover too, is we try to, by the end of the hour, we try to get feeling better about it and get back on track. So Andrew says the Bills game will be the litmus test. I believe in that completely, Andrew. A good opportunity. It's cold. It's away. You've lost and made mistakes. If we come out flat again, we might continue till the end of the season. Tony, let's take some of those things. They lost, but it was cold. One of the main reasons for the loss were the drops. 3 for Deontay Johnson again this week, 2 for Eric Ebron again this week. That's a big deal. What is the problem, and does the cold have anything to do with it?
It might. I mean, the coldest it's been all year. Obviously, it's December, but I think it might be 2 things. It might be a lack of focus, maybe from the scheduling, the changes lately, and maybe it's in their heads now, because you see every time they drop a ball, it's like the end of the world, because I think they realize that everybody knows that they've had a problem with that. They lead the NFL in drops now, so I think it's in their head. That's one. I used to play flag football. Not that I'm comparing myself to them, But I have pretty good hands, at least I thought I did. And when I got into a rut with dropping passes, it got in my head and I kept dropping them. So I think that's what it is right now. They are in their own heads with these drops, and it's going to keep perpetuating until they figure out a way to get out of that funk.
Let me ask you this. If the cold is a problem, to me, that's even a bigger problem, because this is every single game that you're going to play going forward, with the exception of the Super Bowl. And that's if you're lucky enough to make it there.
Right.
But every game is probably going to be in some kind of cold weather. I truly believe that, unless you end up for some reason playing in Miami, and I don't think that's going to happen in the playoffs. But with that being a potential problem, and maybe that's an excuse that we're making maybe they don't agree with it, because they're wearing gloves out there. But these drops are a huge problem, and I just don't know how to get around that. But here's the thing. The drops weren't this egregious the first 10 weeks of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be a combination because, as you said, it's colder now than it's ever been. And but here's the thing. Have you ever tried those gloves on? They're just as sticky as the old Stickum. So I don't, even in cold weather, I don't know if I'm sure it's easier to catch any ball when it's warmer, but even in cold weather, you think those gloves would help. So I think a lot of it is just it's they're in their own heads right now.
Okay, so I'm going to need some help from the live chat here. As we look at what the big issues for the Steelers are, go ahead and rank the problems. So we're going to throw out the lack of a running game. And we're going to couple that with lack of run blocking as well. So the running game that's all going to be included in it. So we've got the running game being a problem there. We've got drop passes being a problem there. We have play calling being a problem here. And I tell you what, a lot of the decisions yesterday were really weird to me, and we could talk about those. So if we look at those three things, play calling, run game, and drop passes, what do you think is killing this team the most? And when I say killing this team, remember, they're still an 11-1 team. And if anybody does come in and say, what are you complaining about? You're still 11-1. Yeah, this is our job. Everybody else is thinking it, and it's not their job. But everybody that's thinking about, what's going to go on in the future for this team, yeah, this is a problem, because right now it doesn't look like you're going to win some games because of what went on the last 2 weeks. And yesterday it was worse, and that was a completely winnable game. So go ahead and rank him, Tony.
Well, I'd say it's the drop passes, number one, because I think they're going to live and die on Ben's arm in that short passing game. Number two would be the lack of a ground game. If you can't get five, if you can't gain a yard on 5 plays, like from the one like yesterday at the end, was at the end of the first half or first quarter, whatever it was, but that one sequence of plays. And I think third, it's a play calling. It's clear to me that they're becoming very predictable, and not because I'm saying it, it's because other teams are saying it. So I think that's how I would rank them.
So let's take a look at yesterday's game. What was the worst thing? What was the biggest killer for this team? Was it the fact that you're throwing to a lineman that just came off of the COVID list 2 hours before this game, and a guy in Gerald Hawkins? That was. I know you're trying to surprise people, and that's a surprise. But is that a good decision there? Is it not giving the ball on a sneak to Ben and let him power his way in when you're on the 1 yard line? Is it? The drop passes are terrible. Is it? Let's look at the defense here too, because they're not. They can be blamed too. Is it the fact that you have defense giving up a 3rd and 16?
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you mentioned the defense, because that's, to me, I think that was the turning point in the game. Not the field goal at the end of the first half. I know that was an egregious mistake by the officials there. But even then you're 14-3 and coming into the second half, and you have Washington at what 30 issues at 3rd and 16. You have them backed up, and you let them convert there, and then you let them take it all the way down and score a touchdown. I think that was the turning point, because I think if they get out of that there, and if they force a punt, maybe the Steelers score a field goal or a touchdown, and you're on easy street a little bit right there. So I think the defense, I think that was the killer right there. That drive at the beginning of the third quarter.
Did it feel like, and I mentioned this earlier, the urgency, did it feel like there was urgency in the second half, or did they feel like, hey, we're the Steelers and we're going to get it together and we're going to pull this out?
I think it was complacency. I think, like you said, I think it was, we're the Steelers. We're 11-0. We're used to winning games like this. They've kind of done that, not every week, but a lot of weeks they were able to pull games out at the end. And I think they figured they would be able to do it again. And the urgency just wasn't there. Maybe they were tired. Maybe it had something to do with it. I don't know, but it certainly seemed like the enthusiasm wasn't quite what it should have been, at that point in the game.
Dallas Quinley says, when we lost Hayden, everything went to crap. Very true. Let me ask you this. One of the heroes for the Steelers all year had a great game yesterday, and that's TJ Watt. But how much blame do you give TJ Watt for not just falling on a fumble and instead trying to run with that ball?
I think the first thing they teach you is to secure the fumble. So I think if I'm, in his defense, he probably felt like he was the only one who saw the ball, because it looked like he was the only one around the ball, and he was going to, make a play and put his team up by 2 touchdowns. But the tight end came in. I think it was the tight end that came in and and grabbed the ball from him. But I think at that point in the game, he should have just fell on it.
Lewis Damper gives us $1.99. Ben's mobility in the pocket is definitely I'm wondering if he's asking if that's a problem. I'm not really completely understanding the question. But go ahead, Tony.
No, I think it was an asset for him yesterday. Moose Johnson, the color analyst, he kept pointing it out. It was more vintage Ben. And Jeffrey Benedict, when we were talking today, he said he looked his best when he was moving. So I think for him it was an asset on Monday for sure.
5 straight games without a sack is absolutely incredible. Right. I got to tell you that. So, this we've been talking about the fact that this offensive line is built more to pass block than run the ball. And for everybody that wants to go ahead and put all the blame on the running backs, there is equal blame to be put on the run game for the blocking, the run blocking scheme, and it's just not working either. Here's one that I want to ask you about, Tony, and Dave Schofield, who I respect his opinion more than most when we're talking about the Steelers. And we got into a difference of opinion yesterday on the post-game show. I thought it was living in your fears and very egregious not to go ahead and kick that field goal when you're on the 28-yard line. In that situation where the Steelers did not go ahead and kick the field goal with Matthew Wright. They went for it on 4th down, and they did not make it. And they did not make it twice on 4th downs. So, I thought that was I thought that was egregious and inexcusable. Dave completely disagreed with me. And I'm not going to say that I've been thinking about this more. And what he said, I understand. And I still don't know where I stand on this, but I think you go for the field goal. Dave said the reason you don't is because Matthew Wright wasn't hitting them in pregame. So where do you go on this? And you don't have to agree with me on this. You can tell me, me. I feel like I don't have an ego. I might. But right. You can tell me, Bryan, you're wrong. So if a guy is just, pee in the bed in practice in pregame, I guess it would make sense not to go with him, but you still need him in that situation. And Mike Tomlin's explanation afterwards was we just didn't want to put that pressure on him.
Right. Well, I could tell you what I was feeling in the moment. And in the moment, it reminded me of the Week 17 Bengals game from 2018. I forget the kicker's name, but he was filling in for the injured Boswell, and he kicked the game winner in the final 2 minutes. I don't know how long it was, But at that moment, I'm thinking it was like 5 minutes left in the game, for whatever it was. I'm thinking or maybe it was a little earlier in the game, but I'm thinking you kick the field goal there and you give yourself the lead. That's what I was thinking in the moment. So if the guy can't make a 45-yard field goal, I mean, there are a lot of kickers out there. I don't even know why he's on the practice squad at that moment. That's what at the moment I'm thinking. You have to kick a field goal, but at the same time, Anthony McFarland was open down the sideline, and it was just, if it would a better pass, he probably would have scored a touchdown.
Okay, so here's the one thing. Look, I think Dave's comments do have merit. I mean, I guess if they're not working in that situation and he feels like he's not going to make it, I get it. To answer your question, and Dallas says the same thing, he has to hit a 45-yard field goal or we should have gotten someone else. Here's the problem, because you're dealing with 2020 right now. And what the Steelers have been doing is kind of smart, because it takes you, if you sign a guy, they've got to go through 5 days. Avery Williamson had to wait 5 days to come to the team, so he couldn't play right away and couldn't practice with the team. So they have been bringing in kickers like that for the practice squad all year to have them on there just in case. So you can't go and get somebody just like that when Boswell goes down at the last minute like he did. But, I do understand what you're saying is have a better guy, but I would like to see them going forward sign somebody else that might be able to kick in that situation than a guy that's just survived the five day waiting period to come in. Because if Boswell can't play next week, you're gonna need a guy to kick a 45-yard field goal. So Dave makes a lot of sense, and I'm not going to say that he's wrong. I'm not going to say that I'm right. I wanted them to go with the field goal in that situation. Maybe Mike Tomlin played the percentages, and maybe it was a smart move because he could have missed that field goal.
Right.
So I understand that, and with the offense that you have, you should be able to make 1 yard. And Mike Tomlin said afterwards, if you can't make 1 yard, you don't deserve to win a game. So I understand that too. Right. I know I'm being wishy-washy. I keep going back and forth because, like I said, I think what Dave said had a lot of merit.
I'll tell you one thing: if you wanted to rank the options, them being able to gain a yard on the ground at that point would have been third between the field goal, the pass to McFarland, and running the ball. That's how little confidence I had in the running game at that moment. So, to me, that says something when you can't pick up a yard on third or fourth and 1.
I get that. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and let me read this comment first. Odessa, I love this comment. Odessa's a big fan of the show. Sign a female soccer player to be our kicker. Hey, that would be awesome, because we've seen what I think Carly Lloyd that was hitting them for the Eagles.
Yeah,
a year ago. I would love to see something like that. Just, I don't care who you are, be able to kick a 45-yard field goal. That's who I want to see in here.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take a break. If you're checking us out on Facebook or on YouTube, just stick around. You have nowhere that you need to go. The break is going to be us taking a quick 5-minute break. If you're checking us out on any of our family of podcasts, on the podcast platform, audio only side, come on back, download show number 2 of the Steelers Hangover, and we are going to be back in a jiffy. It's the Steelers Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Welcome back. Alongside me is Tony Defeo. Tony, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm sitting in my apartment in Crafton, PA, cold. That's why I have my Steelers hoodie on today.
It is cold in Maryland as well. It's I got to tell you, my car was even telling me that there's ice possible just because it was under 33 degrees and there wasn't any ice in sight. We did not get the snow like the Pittsburgh area did get at the last week, I guess, when they got it. But it is definitely cold right now. Then we've got a guy in the live chat, one of our very own, Mark Davison from Steelers Touchdown Under, and it's summer. It's getting ready to be summer for those guys down there. So it's last time I talked to them, it was like 90 degrees.
But they have spiders that are as big as my hand. So I don't know. I think I might take the 35 degrees.
Jared Devil is in SoCal, one of my favorite places in the world. The reason I love the show The Closer, it's set in LA. The reason I love Die Hard and Lethal Weapon so much is because they are set in LA. So I love LA. In fact, I was just there 2 years ago. One of my all-time favorite places to be. Dave Shipley, good friend of the show, he mentions that his brother lives in Grafton. So,
oh yeah, what street, Dave?
There you go.
But don't tell me the street. I might be. Yeah, you don't have to say that. Never mind. What am I talking about? This is the internet. What am I, crazy?
Yeah. So, not only do they have the huge spiders in Australia, they have something called corkers.
Oh,
They're these cute little furry things that I showed them that I was on a Zoom call with the Touchdown Under guys, and they mentioned a corker, and I'm like, what is that? And so my wife, who was listening in, looked at it too, and she just saw one the other day, and that's the greatest thing ever for her now. So there you go. Mark Holbrook is in Idaho, Steelers Nation, Idaho. It's 40 degrees in Idaho too, so it's cool. It's cold there. Jared Devil says they filmed Gone in 60 Seconds near them. I have actually seen, I just talked about my two favorite movies, and I know some people are going to disagree if you call Die Hard a Christmas movie. If you call Die Hard a Christmas movie, you've got to call Lethal Weapon a Christmas movie. I saw both of those movies again in the last week. I just finished Lethal Weapon again today. I've seen them over probably about 50 times each, and probably not an exaggeration because I love them so much. But I have driven past Nakatomi Plaza. In fact, I have my wife had it made for me, a Christmas Party Nakatomi 1988 t-shirt. So I have that. I actually have that t-shirt. Also, I have driven past the carpet store where Mel Gibson's character, of course, Martin Riggs, slapped the handcuffs on the jumper at a Christmas party, and they jumped off the side of the building. I've driven past there too. So LA is one of my favorite my favorite movies. And then Jax Quirty is telling me that My Mom's a Christmas movie. I was not aware of that. Thank you. I hope to get the royalties pretty soon.
I hope It's a Wonderful Life. That's a good movie.
Yes, yeah. Deck the halls with Mrs. Davis. Fa la 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 la. Hi, Mom. How are you? Mom doesn't listen to the show, but thank you for letting me know that, Jax Quirty. I appreciate it. I was not aware of that, and I wasn't aware that we were all 8 on the show. So Steeler Nation 412 is saying Lethal Weapon 4 was the best. Chris Rock was in that one. And my kids are obsessed with Chris Rock right now. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. They're watching Everybody Hates Chris. And so I'm just trying to keep them to that. Great. Jax, we might just put Jax in timeout here. That's what I'm going to do. There we go. Thanks. So here we go. We'll see Jax in 5 minutes, probably. So what I want to do is go ahead and get your questions in. We're going to turn to the Q&A section of the show, and everybody else will tell us what it's looking like in their neck of the woods. And I really do want to do that. I'm not being facetious here. Mark Tobin's 52 in St. Augustine, Florida. Mark, if you live in St. Augustine, Florida, you might see me. That is one of my wife's favorite places. I have vacationed there probably about 3 or 4 times in the last 8 years, maybe. My wife loves St. Augustine. So there you go. Anyway, so let's get questions. Let's work out this loss. So while we're waiting for questions, and we're going to go ahead and have them come up here. While we're waiting, I want to ask you this, Tony. Where do you see this team going forward? Do you feel that they could clean this up? Remember, they are still 11-0, and it's not like these things just popped out of nowhere. The drops maybe have popped up a little bit more because for anybody that wants to rip on Eric Ebron, and somebody mentioned earlier that Ebron is a guy that his MO was dropping the ball, but he has done a very good job this year. He had maybe 2 that I really remember, and I think they were all in one game earlier on in the season. But where do you see this team going forward? In the last quarter of the season, do you see them righting the ship?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, you can't ignore an 11-1 record and just write a team off. Yeah, they're in a funk, and it's more important what you're doing right now than your overall record. But they still have a month to go to correct these problems. And if they're the kind of team that we think they are, if Mike Tomlin and his staff, if that's the kind of coaching staff we think it is, and they're at least going to try to right the ship and work these things out. And if you're any kind of a coordinator, as much as I hate to criticize Randy Fichtner, and I do hate to criticize him because I don't think it's always about the coordinator. It's up to him, and it's up to Ben, Matt Canada, that whole brain trust to get this offense figured out. And it's up to the defense to compensate for these injuries. And we saw 2 more yesterday with Spillane and Hayden. So it's just a matter of them getting figuring some things out. But I'm confident they can do it. I mean, you don't win 11 games in a row if you're a bad football team.
All right, so it's 72 in Austin, Texas, according to Lucky Left 13, 56 in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Michael O'Malley says 48 in Oregon, Odessa, 51 in Jacksonville. And I got to tell you, somebody mentioned that what it was in Wheeling, somebody checking in on Wheeling, and Wheeling is the home of Karen. I'll bring Karen up here. Karen says, yo, Wheeling, West Virginia, signing in here. Wheeling is the home of our co-editor, Jeff Hartman, who you see on this network as well. So born and raised there, and now living in Maryland, down the street from me, actually. But nice to see Wheeling in the house. And if anybody mentions Johnstown, Pennsylvania, woohoo, that's where I'm from as well. So it's nice to see new friends, because we are a family here. The YouTube family here, BTSC family, welcome new family members. And there's a potential for a bunch of them coming over from Facebook as well. So it's so great to see you. Ryan Bryan had a funny comment earlier that I completely agree with. His avatar scares the heck out of me. Look at that thing. That's going to give me nightmares. And I'm almost 50. Sunny and 83 in Hawaii. My gosh, I got to get to Hawaii. But not if that avatar. If you're wearing that mask, I'm not coming to Hawaii. No one you know says 34 in Tennessee. And oh my gosh, I got to bring this one up here. Denny Ozabo Penna, Johnstown. Hello, Bryan. Her husband is a fantastic coach in the Johnstown area. I believe Conemaugh Township now. Also coached at Johnstown High, but I went to school at Richland High School with Danielle. It's so great to see someone from back home. I'm tearing up because I absolutely love it. Danielle, great to see you, buddy. Black and Gold Goggles, 39 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so that's awesome. So something I brought up earlier, and it was a question that we had earlier, and I believe it was Ryan, one of the great contributors to our show. And then I got really on the here it is, Ryan O'Toole. I got really on the weather bandwagon. So Ryan, doesn't Tomlin deserve some of the blame for the offense? He approves the game plan, etc. Yes, he does. However, let me go ahead and throw this out here. Even though he deserves some of the blame here, a lot of the game plan blame, you mentioned Randy Fichtner earlier. Me, it's Ben Roethlisberger too. Ben Roethlisberger is having a great year leading this team. They cannot do what they're doing without Ben Roethlisberger. However, Ben is endorsing the pass. And remember what Lance Williams used to always say, I didn't get my elbow fixed to hand off the ball. Right. And it almost feels like that's what Ben is going with here. So as far as that goes, I don't know how much of the game plan is Ben. When things go wrong, Fichtner is saying, hey, it's Ben doing it. When things go right, Fichtner says, oh, that's not Ben, it's me. I mean, and he does that. It's amazing. So there you go. Thaddeus Kennedy. Thaddeus, a great fan of the show, great friend of the show. Bad and Tony, is Ben's lack of getting sacked due to a good pass protection or Ben throwing the ball so quick? Tony, I think it's a little bit of both, actually. I know it can be said. I mean, he's getting it out in 2.5 seconds. It's better than he ever has. So, Tony, tell me this. What do you think? Do you think that maybe the line's not doing as well as we think they are? Because I think they're keeping them clean. Al Villanueva's having a great year. Right. And, you know, you have other standouts, but they're not getting the run blocking job done well.
Right,
so
right.
Is Ben masking problems that we don't know about on that offensive line?
I'm wondering about that because, you know, as I've said a couple of times, it seemed like the biggest problem that they have with the deep ball, and, you know, the problems that they've had with that all year connecting on the deep pass, it seems like he's getting rid of the ball the exact same, you know, with the same quickness on a deep pass that he does on the short pass. He's not waiting that extra beat for his guy to come open or to get, you know, to get the timing down before he throws it. So I'm wondering if he is trying to help mask some deficiencies in pass blocking. I normally I wouldn't say that because, as you said, they've gone 5 games now without allowing a sack, but it's that deep ball and his eagerness to get rid of it so fast that makes me wonder.
Absolutely. Karen says this, and Karen, thanks for pitching in. It was one game. We are cool. You know what? We could be. But remember, we're Steeler Nation. And the problem with Steeler Nation is we are waiting for the other shoe to drop every single time because it's not anybody that was really waiting for the Raiders to beat the Jets the other day. If that was the big thing that you're like, oh, man, we could clinch if the Raiders beat the Jets. Making the playoffs is not the sole goal here.
Right.
That's not it. You win and you get your house in order. I was going to say ship, excuse me, but you get your house in order. What's going to happen is you're going to make the playoffs, but it's going all the way. There's bigger things because that window is shutting on Ben Roethlisberger's career, and we understand. Killer Shot 3 says this is your only chance to win the Super Bowl. And Killer Shot is obviously a Browns fan. Welcome to the show. I have no problem with a Browns fan. Just be respectful. We will be respectful right back. And yeah, it probably is. Steelers territory, Louisiana. That's a great hat. I love that. STLP. Louisiana Purchase, excuse me. 7-0 for the next 7 we play. That means Super Bowl champs and the flex. And I love it. Yeah, you're right. And that's getting things together. So Steeler Nation to me, and I've talked about this on the show, and it's something that I'm sorry, did we forget? Oh, sorry, I guess we missed that. Was that you, or do we have is Dave helping us out? Did you bring that up?
Not on purpose. I'm trying to find a super chat from Snowman.
Yes. Yeah. So that is it. And I found I can't find it, but I could read it. I know it here. And so we'll just say this. Thanks for the $5, Snowman. We really appreciate it. Can we sign Gary Anderson to back up the Boz? LOL. Gary Anderson is actually in Canada, still fly fishing, running a fishing business. They actually mentioned him in a episode of How I Met Your Mother when they were talking about the Vikings. And yeah, because he's the guy who missed the field goal. And it was a really funny episode. But Gary Anderson, one of my all-time favorites, a guy that I met when I was working radio in Johnstown, and I had an opportunity to be on a show to have him in my studio, and it was great. I don't think that he's going to be able to be doing it right now. Gary, who was a rookie in 1982, I guess he's plus 60 now, so that might be a little tough. So I would welcome Gary back though. So let's go ahead and look at this. There's some bright spots too. Dallas Quinley says Hilton was on fire for about 2 quarters. Hilton Hilton was the guy on defense yesterday. But you know who else was the guy on defense? And he doesn't get a lot of run right now, even though he's a captain. Hayward was great. Hayward was really good. So, too bad Bud went down, because somebody was mentioning if with Hayward in there, Bud would have went crazy too. They really could have.
He's so underrated. He's so consistent, and we almost take him for granted.
So Javier asked, why bring practice squad kicker up if you can't kick a 45-yard field goal? The biggest problem right now, so back in 2016, Boz went down the last minute, like on a Saturday, and they signed Randy Bullock off of a couch who stayed in the NFL. He ended up signing like 2 weeks later with Cincinnati and ended up sticking. He's still with them. The problem right now in COVID is you have to keep a guy on the practice squad to be a kicker, and that's why they're working out kickers all the time, because there was a 5-day waiting period to get through COVID. We saw that when Avery Williamson was traded to the Steelers. He could not play the first week because he had to go through. He couldn't even practice with the team. He had to basically quarantine for 5 days. So that's something that's going on right now. John Knox says, I'm a realist, not a pessimist. Having said that, if the Steelers play like they have the last 2 weeks, they will lose 3 of their last 4 games. Thanks for the $5, John. We really appreciate it. And John's avatar, it always looks like he's looking at me skeptically. He's just checking us out. No, I appreciate that, John. Thank you very much for the $5, and we appreciate that. So that leads a question, Tony. The Steelers have a history of struggling against 4-7 teams, beating the teams that they should beat, a JV Ravens team from last week. And then they turn around and, like in 2018, right before Christmas, they beat a Patriots team that's on their way to a Super Bowl bid, and actually a Super Bowl championship that year. So it's one of those things that they step up against great teams. Do you, put your head out of it, in your heart, do you feel like the Steelers will step up against Buffalo?
Oh, of course. I mean, they're going to be in the game. I don't look for Buffalo to have their way with them. I think it's going to be a good game, and I think I wouldn't be shocked if they won. I mean, this is, as you said, this is their history of showing up for these games. Like Mike Tomlin always says, it's a 5-star matchup because we're in it, and it's going to be a 5-star matchup for sure. It's going to be 2 of the better teams in the AFC. So I certainly wouldn't be shocked if they won this game. If it was a great, exciting, last minute kind of game. No, not at all.
Now, put your head back in it. Do you think they will?
At this moment, I do not, because of everything that's going on. They've been in the funk for so long. As far as with the offense, certainly the offense has been. It seems like it's been figured out now for the last month, and and they can't seem to come up with a solution for that. But that's what Mike Tomlin gets paid for. That's what these guys get paid for, that to figure this stuff out. So they have a week to figure it out.
Mike Tomlin likes to say, we're going to get back in the laboratory. No one does it better than Mike Tomlin. Nobody could rally a team like Mike Tomlin. So my head's saying, yeah, I think they can. So I cannot wait for this game. I can't wait for Sunday night. I hate Sunday night football because I'm old and I want to go to sleep. But I heard that. But there's a lot of people that hate when these games, that love when they're flexed, and because they don't get to see these games sometimes because they don't have Sunday ticket and they're out of the area. And then you've got our guys from down under that are like, Yahoo, we love when they're in prime time because it's not 3 a.m. here. Right. And they get up for the 3 a.m. games. They're diehards. And that's awesome. Odessa from Louisiana, I think she said earlier, our offense is built on pass protection. It's not built for a run game. The organization needs to be grooming or looking for a quality successor at QB. Yeah, they do. They do. But the problem with that is it's very rare, and I'd love to get Dave Schofield to go ahead and put some numbers behind it. It's very rare to find a successor at quarterback that is not a first-round pick. And when the Steelers are picking that late
right.
all the time, it's even tougher. You can get a find. Sure, Tom Brady showed up in the 6th round. Dak Prescott showed up in the 4th round. And they tried. They thought maybe they were doing it with Landry Jones, and they thought maybe they were doing it with Mason Rudolph as well. Right. It's definitely they definitely need to find one. But the problem with that too is you have to when the window's closing, you need to find somebody to for Ben to be able to take advantage of, not to force Ben out the window. And right where they were picking last year at 51, there was not a clear-cut favorite to pick. Remember, They were picking 11th when they got Ben Roethlisberger, and they almost didn't get him.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Eli Manning and the Manning family, for doing whatever you did to break the hearts of San Diego and say, I'm not coming there. And we've seen that happen other places too. John Elway in 83. But if Eli Manning doesn't do that, Ben Roethlisberger is a New York Giant. And he still will be probably. So as far as that goes, we're going to get ready to wrap everything up. Let's see what else we have here. Ryan Bryan McFarland is pretty quick. Why aren't we running him outside? All the right up the middle fails are killing me. Yeah, Tony, take that. I really feel that they need to find a way to get him loose around the tackles. And I really think that's what we need.
That's his strength, and they need to find a way to utilize that. I mean, they kind of did in a passing sense on that 4th down pass to him, the wheel route. So they got to find a way to get him in open space. You see how quick he is. I mean, he's got unbelievable quickness. I mean, he's so quick that his feet sometimes are running in place before he could even get going. It's funny, but they have to find a way to utilize him and utilize his strengths. I mean, he's as Mike Tomlin likes to say, you're not a rookie this late in the year, so it's time for him to contribute.
So if I say 2 words to you, we're going to play word association here. And it's live chat word association. If I say what's goody to you, what are you going to say?
Big Marv.
Big Marv. There we go. Hey, it's a new avatar, a new picture for Big Marv.
Yeah.
Missed you guys so bad. I was wondering where Big Marv was.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Games have been killing my schedule with work, going crazy. Big Marv, remember, I'm asking you to do this. If you can't check us out live, and we love when you're live, I hope you've got about 25 different options every single week on the podcast platform. You can do it on your way to work. Maybe you could listen to us in earbuds when you're at work. Check us out there too, Big Marv. Love you, man. Glad to see you there. So Michael O'Malley says, great show, guys. I appreciate that. Snowman says Trevor Lawrence said he's not playing for the Jets. He might play for the Jets if the rumor that Boomer Esiason has come up with that threw out there today that Bill Cowher is interested in coaching the Jets.
Yeah, that's amazing. To me, he has such a good situation there in New York. He's getting paid a pretty good penny, a pretty decent penny there. But I mean, it's like they keep saying. I'm not the first person to say this. They've been saying it. It's in their blood. They just have to. They just love that. They need a challenge, and he was born to do this. And I mean, I didn't think he would do it, but if Boomer's saying it, he works with him. He must believe that there's a real possibility. I
got to tell you, he's a New York guy now. He loves New York. That's where he wants to be. Just like I'd love to be in LA, even though I love Maryland too. I'm happy here. I'd love to be back in Johnstown or in Pittsburgh. So lots of places, but I know my answer. I'm going to ask you this. Would the Jets be your number 2 team if William Laird Cowher was the coach of the Jets? They'd be mine.
I definitely want to see him succeed for sure. I mean, he's from the hometown he's from where I live right now. I know where his street is, or his old street. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely root for him. I mean, it's easier said than done though. Before he's facing the Steelers in a big game, but yeah, I would definitely root for the Jets. I mean, after the Rex Ryan era, he has a lot of work to do to get me to like the Jets again. But if anybody could do it, it's the Chin.
I tell you what, too, and he's the one guy that he would revitalize that team. But if they do, if it's Steelers, here's the thing: if it's Steelers against Jets, oh no, you're my enemy for 3 hours,
right?
But as soon as that game's over, I'm like, all right, I'm back. I just black and gold goggles. Sometimes you just want to prove you still can. Great title for a bad 2 a.m. podcast. If you're following us on Facebook, I have a reputation now for something called 2 a.m. stories that Tony knows all about. They're probably, if you know me, they might be, even though they're true, but I'm not the rebel that everyone thinks I am. But at 2 a.m., I've had some chaos in my life. Let's just put it that way. So if you're wondering what Mr. 2 a.m., that's one of my nicknames here at BTSC as well. With that being said, Dante Harris says this: I'm late, but this loss will help us in the long run. You know what? It possibly could. That is a staple of Mike Tomlin. We talked about it, how teams like this, games like this, are rough, but nobody gets them back and gets them put back together again than Mike Tomlin. So I really think you're right. Big Marv says, I know a lot of people from Buffalo and they are killing me with the Bills Mafia crap. Tony, you didn't go to the game. You met me before the game last year. Dave Schofield and I went to the game. Right. I cannot stand Bills Mafia and Buffalo fans now. After going to that game last year, almost a year ago, it was December 15th last year. Cannot stand them. Oh my gosh, they are the most obnoxious fans in the world. And look, if you are diving through a flaming table and you're not employed by Vincent K. McMahon, then guess what? You're an idiot. And if I've offended anybody that does that, Tony, if I've offended you and you like to do that on weekends, just dive through flaming tables, I'm sorry.
Well, maybe in my younger days, but not anymore. Now I just have the foam brick that I throw at the TV. That's all I do now.
So I don't know whether I'm getting ripped on. This might not be. This is probably for me. Yeah, that bad taste in your mouth is a sour flavor. Yeah, it really is. So Marcus J's asking, man, why don't y'all ever invite Lance back? We talk to Lance all the time. Through texting and everything, and anytime Lance wants to join one of our shows, love to have him. Still very good friends with Lance Williams, and I'd love to be chatting with him once again. So so with that, you know what? We got to bring this up, even though we're running out of time. Darren Lofton from Facebook says, listen, the Steelers were not afforded the same amount of time to prepare as the rest of the league. In addition, in the end of the first 8 seconds, Alex Smith ran off the field with the football and gave Washington the opportunity to put their first points on the board. Why wasn't a delay of game and a runoff of the clock called? It should have been. The league has basically admitted that, that was a mistake. There's nothing they can do about it. Alex Smith knew he was doing it, and he was laughing about it. He was smiling and laughing. He knew he was getting away with it. He knew he was taking advantage of him. Veteran move. I'm not blaming Alex Smith. That's a veteran move. And I've got a lot of love for Alex Smith. I have no problem with him. If you can get away with something like that, great. Is it cheating? Yeah, it is if you do it intentionally. And when I take the eye test, I think he did it intentionally. However, sure, that put them back in the game. But if you can't mentally overcome that mistake in a final in 30 minutes of football, then that's a problem. Right. So Darren, I agree with you completely, but they definitely need to overcome that. But they, as far as not getting the same amount of time to prepare. Gosh, the Washington football team had a lot of time to prepare because they last played on Thanksgiving Day. The Steelers last played on December 2nd, which was last Wednesday. So they 5 days here. So I get that. And that is, I'm not going to say anything about that. But what I am going to say is, yeah, they really should have. What do I think of Carson Wentz's benching? What do you think of Carson Wentz's benching, Tony? Snowman gives us $2 for that question. You know, I know a lot of Philadelphia fans. There's a lot of frustration there. I don't know what's going on. Something's not right with Carson Wentz. They're grasping at straws. I think it's a desperate move at this point, but he's not getting things done.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Carson Wentz when he first came in the league. His first year, he killed the Steelers in his rookie year. Remember that Week 3 game? And then his second year, he was a candidate to be the league MVP before he got hurt. I don't know what the deal is with him, but to answer a super chat from earlier, this is why teams you very rarely see quarterbacks being groomed. If they draft a guy in the first round or the second round like Jalen Hurts, they're probably gonna want to put him in sooner rather than later. So I think you're saying the Eagles say, look, this is our new investment. Carson, it's been fun, but we're probably going to be moving on from you. So I think when as far as Ben's heir apparent, he's gonna come in after Ben's gone.
Yeah, that's very true. So I want to thank everybody who checked us out on this show. It is great to find out what the weather is where you're at, but get over this loss together. It was our first hangover. It was our first true hangover, and we got through it. We're gonna get through this. I believe in my heart and in my head in Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's go. Let's get back on that horse and shuffle off to Buffalo. That was a David Lee Roth song. Shuffle off to Buffalo. I mean, I'm sure it was done by someone else, but I just remember the Eat 'em and Smile album. So I got to mention DLR there. Big Van Halen fan from back in the day. Love David Lee Roth as well. So, let's throw that in there. But with that being said, thanks so much for checking us out. We love Steeler Nation, and we want to get through this together. We're definitely going to get through this together. The Steelers are going to get through this as well. And let's get back on this horse, and we will hopefully be celebrating next week. Gotta believe. So with that being said, for Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. You can call me Bad. And just when you think you've got all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.